On the rough and dirty patches of politics, the campaigns, public messages are crafted and your favorite leaders get all witty. And while at it, lies become the truth and the truth becomes, well, less coveted in their rhetorics. And when they are elected, this cycle begins again. But what role has propaganda played in Kenya's politics? Musa Salah explores every politician's weapon of destruction in this week's Game Plan 2022.
They say a politician's influence is measured by the size of the crowd before him, and for ages, Kenya's political class has employed their preferred tool of destruction, witty crafted messages to discredit their political foes. And surprisingly, that has often left their supporters hooked up for the next dose of political rhetoric.
The propaganda is about organized information and how it is disseminated. There's nothing inherently good or bad about propaganda.
It becomes more pronounced maybe when it comes to political discourse dispensation, because politics being the art of acquiring power, and you have to convince a lot of people that you should be given the power. And when they give you the power, then you want to persuade them to continue trusting you with it. So you have to keep them informed.
Of course, politics is about communication. It's about passing your message. It's about weakening your opponent's communication. Sometimes you hit below the belt, which means you present and paint your opponent as a bad person. Sometimes it does go very, very low. And propaganda has a unique place in the whole thing. Communication experts trace to the struggle for independence. The Mau Mau, who had left the comfort of their homes to lead the fight, had been labeled rebels by the British, whose well-thought-out messages to their colony declared the Mau Mau as outcasts, shaping not just Kenya's politics decades later, but also the economic dominance in the country.
It was including rigging elections and trials. The British, they did that. So that effort and people being acculturated, particularly those people who then took over the colonial state at independence, they were properly groomed and conditioned, acculturated to follow the same pattern when it comes to making sure that the right information gets.
You must look at the struggle for independence. You must look at the fears that came with the formation of political parties, where there was a fear that certain tribes were going to dominate others, where there was propaganda that only certain tribes had fought for freedom. And that kind of propaganda you still hear even today. People saying we are the ones who fought for independence. And it shapes not just the politics, it shapes and informs economic dominance.
Shortly after independence, Kenya's first Vice President Jaramogi Oginga Odinga fell out with President Jomo Kenyatta, the two differing on who to form ties with between China, the Soviet Union, and the United States. Oginga was accused of colluding with China to overthrow Kenyatta, and a few days later, a consignment of weapons in transit to the neighboring Uganda would be linked to Oginga. Although the weapons were not connected to Oginga, he was forced to resign, and when President Kenyatta died in 1978, the deception grew stronger, with his successor President Daniel Moi promising to walk in Kenyatta's footsteps.
And a very crafty politician, so he knew how to use these things. And so the foundation laid by Jomo Kenyatta's administrations was then taken, which was to portray a positive image of everything and anything that the government did.
That Jaramogi Oginga Odinga is trying to sell the country to the communists, and a cache of military equipment is found in the country. It's actually supposed to be crossing to Uganda in 1965, and they say it is the vice president who wants to use it to overthrow the government of President Kenyatta. Later on, the Ugandan government under President Milton Obote is caused to apologize to Kenya and to Jaramogi because it had nothing to do with him.
So one of the challenges that Kenyans faced was they were told that it was criminal to imagine that a president can die. So when eventually the president died, they didn't know what to do because they don't want to be criminals. But it was a transition period. And the man who had been there throughout, from the 1960s, actually he was at the Lancaster House Conference, the first, second, and yeah, so he knew these things. And so once he became president, then he increased that effort to propagate his views, and he called them Nyayo, which is a way of persuading people. Don't worry that there will be major changes because I'll just follow what the Mzee was doing, and he did.
In subsequent years, to the effect that there are people whom President Moi and KANU used to call disgruntled elements. You always felt as if the country was about to be attacked by some foreigners. They used to say there are people in the country who are agents of foreigners. What was your tosheka? And that only helped to entrench the one-party regime.
Following failed attempts to amend the constitution in the run-up to the 2002 general election, Moi and Raila Odinga fell out over Moi's successor, President Moi declaring young Uhuru Kenyatta as the next in line, creating a better rebellion within the ruling KANU. The KANU rebels led by Raila Odinga joined the opposition to lead a campaign offensive dubbed 41 Against 1, a crafted message that sought to stop the Kenyattas from ruling for a second time.
All these people were waiting there for Moi to say you. And then he says Yigichana. So the anger that came out. And what happened is that by then, since Moi was going, the opposition was building up such a force, a momentum. By August in 2002, it was clear who was winning. It is NAK. The ganging up of Kibaki, Wamalwa, and Gilu. They were winning. And now those rebels in KANU were wondering what to do with themselves. They have been insulted, and it's clear that these people are winning. How do you jump the gun and join the winning side? That explains the so-called Kibaki-Tosha thing. They redeemed themselves. That's very effective propaganda. When you are real down there and you change the dynamics such that you look like an angel, it happened. And we can also see in the 2002 election the tendency in propaganda to sanitize people and demonize. So either you are being sanitized or you are being what? Demonized. So when Moi was ganging up with Ray was ganging up with Moi and saying very strange things, to some people he was demonic, because he talked strange things. When he shifted, come from Moi to now the Kibaki side, he was now sanitized.
In the 2002 elections, for example, where you are hearing this thing of 41 against 1, and this propaganda that is built around this one tribe that is being accused of being dominant, But within that tribe, there's also the propaganda to the effect that they want to take away everything from us, once again creating fear to manage. And
when young Kenyatta would contest for president in 2013, the 2007 post-election violence ghosts had come to haunt him and his running mate William Ruto. The two were brought together by their determination to clear their names at the International Criminal Court in The Hague, a legal suit that the inner circles of power indicate was a sketched plan to bar Kenyatta from ascending to the presidency for the second time, an opportunity the two used to appeal to the emotions of Kenyans to vote in their favor.
We had that international interference, cooking up the ICC for some good reason, in the hope that you can eliminate some people from the game. And the coming together of Uhuru, who had been on separate sides in 2007, the one separate side, was mainly a defensive, and the Kenyans agreed with them that what the imperial powers were doing was not acceptable to the Kenyans. That's why they voted for the Uhuru team. People were saving these two from the international machinations.
In 2017, the selling narrative for NASA was theft, theft, theft. Corruption of public resources. Then at the critical moment, they abandoned it and brought in through David Ndii manifesto trying to compete with Jubilee in what they could do. They lost it. Today that narrative can't sell, and I've even advised Raila. If you call Ruto a thief, it doesn't work. People are happy with their thief. Yes. It won't sell. You won't call people Ruto a thief and you get mileage out. It won't. People don't care. In fact, they're happy with him the way he is.
But as the 2022 general election approaches, and now with the stars seemingly aligning for opposition leader Raila Odinga through his handshake with President Kenyatta, Odinga could be having a hard time penetrating Kenyatta's Mount Kenya backyard, owing to Kenyatta's past attacks on Odinga. His greatest rival, William Ruto, on the other hand, wooing the public with his hustler narrative, but faced with similar past ghosts.
there are people like Koigi wa Wamwere, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Gotv wa Kariuki, George Anyona, who are also demonized in that context. There are people whom Attorney General Charles Njonjo calls the six bearded sisters. Now, the propaganda, therefore, in this country has been used to generate fear and to manage and control people.
There are people who are very busy demonizing Ruto, and others are very busy demonizing who? Raila. There are also people who are busy sanitizing Ruto. They are called what, Tangatanga or whatever, those people, who wake up, dream and think and eat Ruto. They sanitize. There are also people who are doing the same thing with Raila right now. You see some of the things going on, moving to here, and people who would, a few months ago or years ago, would have told you there's something. Now they've turned him into a saint, particularly in some sections of the country. So these are normal things.
More recent times, you have seen in the mountain region fear about Raila Odinga. He is cast in traumatic imagery. People being told he's going to make you to crawl and get before him on your knees. Your property is going to be taken away. You are going to be made to wear shorts and khaki ones at that. He's a mganga. Such like things. That way, therefore, we have used propaganda in this country to create fear around Deputy President William Ruto today. You have seen that when he has come up with what he proposes to be an economic model of political economy, he has not had the opportunity to explain it. Someone picks it up and says, oh, he's dividing the rich against the poor. He wants to cause a class war.
People don't always mean it. The people who are saying all manner of things about Raila have come out to say they didn't mean it. Yeah, and Raila himself has also said, we said things about Uhuru. That was politics, and they were not true. Yeah, but so long as it is within manageable levels, acceptable levels, because this is politics. It's not about church affairs. This is not a mosque affair. This is politics. So they will be hitting in the here and there.
But experts believe Ruto's proactive political statements could set him on the lead against Odinga, although he risks losing supporters at the ballot.
That Ruto is ahead. He's ahead of Raila. He's ahead of the One Kenya alliance because he is acting and they are reacting. In the management of information, particularly public information and communications, you act and let other people react. Because when you act, you set the agenda and the other people respond to that agenda. They are also demonstrating that they do not seem to have an agenda of their own that they could position before the public, except the agenda of reacting against Ruto's agenda.
Of course, Ruto's packaging is powerful. The hustler narrative is a powerful narrative. The bottom-up narrative is so powerful. The other side is yet to come up with something to counter it. You get it? It's so powerful. Of course, it is not true. The things about hustling, they are not true. None of these guys are hustlers. Yeah? All these are billionaires. And then, not to mention they didn't even make this money in very clean ways. None of them can stand here and tell me how they became billionaires. But it has worked. It's about, politics is about perception. You make people perceive things in a certain manner. And you make people believe you. Ruto has made people believe him. Yeah? Regardless that what he's saying is not true. There's nothing like bottom up. That is rubbish. But they believe it. People believe him.
So the measure of propaganda is the level of acceptance by the voters. To the extent that today it appears as if he has the acceptance of the voters, a substantial number of voters. Not so much among the elite. The elite have a problem with the guy, in the same way that they might have a problem with Raila. But ordinary people appear to be somehow excited. Now, if that excitement translates into vote, then his propaganda may be working in that sense. If they do not translate into votes, then he was just being an entertainer. And we have seen a lot of people who are very good entertainers, and they think they have it until the voting day, when they realize, hey, where are the people? They've gone.
Musa Salah, TV 47.